Okay. What the? There goes the computer. I'm not recording audio yet. Okay. Yes, I was on the floor. Yes, my closet door is open. Yes, this is way too bright and you can't really see it. Yes, it's like an hour till sunset and I probably won't have enough light to record this video without me looking granular, like sugar, or noisy, not like sugar. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario. This is a channel all about amusement park type stuff, but mostly coasters, as you can see, or can't see. It's a little too bright. I can dim it. I'll dim it. It looks okay. You know, you can read it now. It looks so bad. It doesn't look okay. You know what? I'm filming this on an iPhone. Who cares? But today I am going to be doing a different type of video. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try posting more than once every 7 months. But today the new type of video that I'm doing is a top 10 list. And what you're thinking right now is probably,
that's not a new type of video. That's been on YouTube for decades? Years? Many of years? Maybe a decade. Probably over a decade.
But it's new to me, all right? So, some of you guys might know that I recently went to Six Flags Over Texas. And by recently, I mean 9-ish months ago. But again, I don't post videos like more than once every 7 months. So that's pretty recent for me. I had a blast at that park. It was super fun. I know people have had mixed experiences with that park, but for me at least, it was pretty good. Really good, actually. I really like their coaster collection. Probably one of the most solid coaster collections out of any park I've ever been to. In my opinion, they almost only have good coasters, with the exception of a couple of them, which we'll go into right now. Why don't we just get into it? Like TurboTax. Not a sponsor. My computer's down there, so I need to look at it because I don't have my own list memorized, so I need to look at the list. This is good so far. Okay, so before we get into the top 10, that's a good transition. I'm just gonna pop up. That's how I'm gonna like start every number on the list. I'm just gonna just like, so for number 15, wow, that's so corny. So for number 15, number 15, there's only 12 coasters at the park. There's 13.
How many are there?
13.
Counted them myself.
So let me preface it with that. I didn't get on every single coaster, and before we get into the top 10, we're going to start with 2 that don't make it into the top 10. The one I didn't get on is Wile E. Coyote something or another. I guess it just depends on who the op is there that day. I know some people have been able to get on it, even if they're over the max height, and some people have not been able to. So, without further ado, number 12, Runaway Mine Train. So this is the bigger of the 2 mine trains that they have. We'll get to the other one next. The first Aero Mine Train. It's okay. It does have a very cool last drop. It has a decent setting, from what I remember. A good color scheme, if you like brown. But the thing that really puts it down in the rankings for me, personally, is the transitions. And I know, obviously, if you've been on an Aero Mine Train, you know that they have awkward transitions, more awkward than the beginning of this video. And I personally love the wonky transitions on stuff like Gold Rusher at Magic Mountain, However, this particular mine train has laterals that are not exactly rib crushing, but they're not exactly not rib crushing. Not the biggest fan of that. It does have like a almost not show scene at the end, just stagnant mannequins in a room, which is like nice that there's stuff there, but it's kind of creepy. Anyway, it's somewhat enjoyable. The wonky laterals kind of just take me out of the experience a little bit. That being said, let's go look at number 11. Number 11, Mini Mine Train. So the little baby brother of Runaway Mine Train, I find it more enjoyable. Is it a kiddie coaster? Yeah. Is it fun? Yeah. Does it have ejector depending on where you sit? Yeah. I'm honestly a sucker for kiddie coasters that have ejector airtime, which, if you don't know, is a huge reason why I like E&F Miler. That's another story for another time. But this little kiddie coaster goes underneath Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, which is honestly one of the coolest things about it, especially when Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast is running while you're on this ride, because it goes what feels like just inches over your head. Aside from that, though, it's a pretty smooth ride, but also if you sit in the front, I think is where I was, you'll get ejector airtime. Who doesn't like that? So now to actually get into the top 10, we have... What do we have? Runaway Mountain. Runaway Mountain is a ride that I was actually really looking forward to coming into this park. Not to say that I didn't enjoy it, I was just a little bit underwhelmed, but it was super fun. For those of you that don't know, it's completely enclosed in the dark. It is pitch black, which is super fun. I like rides where you truly can't tell what's going on. The downsides to it were that it was just a little bit on the shorter side. The capacity is pretty bad, so the wait time gets pretty bad as well. I do like the queue. The queue is actually like gorgeous. It's a nice facade as well. It does have a waterfall that was not running when we were there, but I'm sure that looks really cool when it is running. As far as the ride experience itself, it's mostly just a lot of turns. It does have like one really surprising dip in there, which really caught us off guard. Definitely my favorite part of the ride. So overall, a pretty okay ride. Nothing to write home about, but definitely an enjoyable experience. Number 9, Lavabora. Really, really fun ride. The more people you have in the car, the better the experience is by far. This is an Intamin bobsled. I'd never experienced one of these bobsled type coasters at all, so this was definitely one of my most anticipated coasters going into the park, and I loved it. Such a unique feeling, seemingly uncontrollably swerving up and down on the edges of the trough. Really feels like a water slide roller coaster hybrid type situation. And like I said, if you have more people in the car, you actually get a couple of pops of airtime, which feel terrifying. It's just gravity alone is the only thing keeping you from flying off. So a really fun experience. Try to get with as many people as you can on it. Downsides are that it does get a long line. Some of the transitions can be a little wonky, but just brace yourself and you're good. But they do have a single rider line. So if you don't want to get stuck in those long waits, highly recommend the single rider line. And this is something that they had for quite a few of the rides at the park. So definitely take advantage of that. Next up.
So a very granular me is going to jump in just to apologize for the audio quality. For whatever reason, the audio gets progressively worse throughout the video. About halfway through, I was able to fix it, but I had already edited like half of the video. It's bad. Hopefully it's bearable. It gets better towards the end of the video, so just hang in there.
Number 8, Pandemonium. Now, this is one of those classic, I don't know, run-of-the-mill? No, this is just one of those Gerstlauer spinning coasters. If you've been on one, they're all pretty similar from what I understand. I've experienced about 3 of them. They are good fun, just like any spinning coaster, more unbalanced, more spins. But I do really like these Gerstlauer models. And one of the really fun things about it is after the second mid-course, you usually get sideways airtime, depending on your rotation. And I've never gotten sideways airtime before. Super smooth ride. Nothing bad about it. Again, the only thing would be capacity is not great. So take advantage of that single rider line. Number 7 might be a little bit surprising for most people. This is Judge Roy Screen. Now, before going into this park, I had not really heard the best things about this. I heard it's a mediocre wooden coaster. I've heard it's a bad wooden roller coaster. And to me personally, in the front car, it's one of the better wooden roller coasters I've been on. And I know that sounds insane, but I love janky rides that have no business being as good as they are. Something like Magnum XL at Cedar Point is another one of those types of coasters, and there are certainly some parallels to that. The ejector airtime is not nearly as solid, but you actually do get some ejector airtime, which is something that I was not expecting. If you sit in the front car going up the hills, you will get some random bursts of ejector airtime, but not on every hill. So one hill, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is totally tame. And then next hill, you're like, oh, this is gonna be the same thing. And then boom, you're out of your seat. So definitely ride in the front car. I rode in the back as well. In the back, it really doesn't do anything special. Number 6. Now we're getting to another clone, Batman the Ride. Don't think you need me to say anything about this. You either like them, think they're okay, don't like them. I think most people are kind of the opinion they're good clones. Yeah, it's just a B&M invert Batman the Ride clone. That's that. I think it's better than the aforementioned rides. That's my number 6. Number 5, another clone. This is an SNS 40 free spin by the name of Joker. These are a little more divisive. I know a lot of people think they're short, over-cloned. I think they're really fun. I've certainly been on better ones. For example, the one down south from it at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, has more of those flip-inducing fins. So this one ranks a little bit lower just for that reason. I do like the color scheme. It does look really good in the DC area of the park. Again, this is one where capacity isn't that good, but it actually didn't matter. The second day we were at Over Texas, it was a little bit busier and there was still no line for that ride. So I don't have any complaints about it. It is very similar to all the other 40 free spins, just not quite as good. That still puts it at number 5 at the park because I really do love the experience of getting, for lack of a better word, whipped on those 40 free spins. All right, now we're cracking into the really, really good coasters. I know we just went into the top 5 last coaster, but up next we have Shockwave. This ride is so much fun. I think it was a little bit overhyped for me going into it. I heard it had some of the best ejector airtime on any coaster. I heard the double loops were insanely forceful, and all these things were true. I just expected them to happen on a larger scale, if that makes any sense. You do get like these random bursts of ejector airtime going down and even up some of the hills where they're just super sudden. And I do prefer more sustained airtime, which is why I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. But the crazy bursts out of nowhere are super fun. And that double loop is great as well. Really no drawbacks to it whatsoever. Definitely one of the best Schwarzkopfs I've ever been on, and definitely one of the top rides at the park for sure. It's a must ride in my opinion. Okay, this is another one that might be a little bit surprising, but at number 3, we have Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. And I know some of you might be thinking,
That's not better than Titan?
well, no. Not to me personally. What an insanely fun and unique experience, though. I've actually experienced a couple of backwards launches in my life. I sound like I'm a freaking grandpa.
Back in my day, I rode quite a few launch coasters that went backwards. Son, grandson, whatever the
But for some reason, this is the most forceful one I've experienced. And the ride itself is insanely forceful. It's not the fastest acceleration I've ever been on, but facing backwards accelerating at that rate is really awesome. Compared to other rides like Full Throttle, where that reverse launch only sends you up, a few stories, Mr. Freeze launches you up a couple hundred feet. And then on the Spike, you have that reverse launch as well. That is awesome, especially sitting in the back row. You are as high up in the park as you can possibly be, with the exception of Texas Skyscreamer. But looking straight down from 200 something feet in the air and feeling like you're suspended in midair while it pulls you even further up, great experience. And that inverted top hat, like I said earlier, forceful, the overbank, insanely forceful. Just the pace at which it moves through those two elements is what makes this ride so intense. And getting to do it forwards and backwards is super fun as well. All right, at number 2, this should not come as a surprise. I'm not going to think it's better than New Texas Giant. So spoiler, that's number 1, but you could have figured out on your own. But number 2 is Titan. Titan is a ride that I was actually really excited to get on. And for anyone that knows me, I'm from Magic Mountain. I'm not from Magic Mountain. That's not where I was born. But my home park for a long time was Magic Mountain. So Goliath was one of the first really big coasters I'd ever been on. I really do love that coaster. So you're probably thinking, well, why the hell were you so excited about getting on something that's almost exactly the same? Well, I was really excited just for that extra helix and to see how a ride that's that similar feels in comparison to something I'm so familiar with. And I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but I don't care. That extra helix before the mid-course adds so much to the ride. Goliath feels, I don't want to say very incomplete, but Goliath really does feel inferior without that extra helix. Because Goliath is just a drop, a turn, airtime hill, and then helixes. I guess that describes Titan too. But when you have that extra helix, it adds a good 15 seconds to the ride experience. And not to mention that it's insanely forceful. I don't know if it's more forceful than the helixes, the heli, helixes, he likes his helixes. He does. He likes his helixes. You do have supports flying over your head, crazy head choppers, super fun. Makes it feel even more fast-paced than it is. And you are going quite fast. Again, it's one that you have to do if you're at the park. Even if you've been on Goliath at Magic Mountain a million times, Titan is a must-do. All right. I know you're shocked, but my number 1 is New Texas Giant. A lot of people think this is lower on the list as far as RMCs are concerned. It was their first conversion, but for me personally, once this ride warms up, it's one of my favorite RMCs and one of my favorite coasters, period. It's not necessarily as fast-paced as other RMCs. It's not necessarily as intense as other RMCs, but it is just as fun, if not more fun, than other RMCs. One of the things I really liked about it were the trains from a visual perspective, as well as a ride experience. I felt like those lap bars rested on your legs more so than your hips, which I really liked. It didn't feel as restrictive to me. They looked awesome as well. The ride as a whole looks really cool. It was a lot bigger than I expected. It really does give off a similar visual as Steel Vengeance, which surprised me. But I loved walking up to it, having the first drop towering over you. And then obviously it's an RMC, so the airtime was wonderful. It has a great variety of airtime. And that's something that for me personally, I feel like Steel Vengeance doesn't excel at, is the variety of airtime. But this has great floater, great ejector at certain spots. Also has like weird lateral airtime coming out of those overbanks. So I think this is just a fantastic coaster. Without a doubt in my mind, the best one in the park. So that's going to do it for my top 10 coasters at Six Flags Over Texas. Let me know what you think of my opinions. Do you agree with them? Do you hate them? Let me know if you've been to that park, what your top 10 is. If you haven't been to the park, let me know what rides you are most excited to get on at that park. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it 2 thumbs down. That way I'll know you really didn't like it. And if you want to see more content, like I said in the beginning, I do plan on posting more. So if you do like this type of stuff, go ahead and subscribe. And I don't have an outro. I've made like 10, maybe 15 videos at this point. Still don't have an outro for this channel. Suggestions for an outro in the comments as well. And with that being said, bye.